Hey, listen to Commander Cookout Podcast, episode 158. I'm Brando. I'm here with Ryan, and we're going to do our second annual Christmas episode. Now, hit our theme song! Hey, Ryan. We're back for yet another whirlwind adventure. Merry Christmas.
Ooh, Merry Fistmas. What's going down?
Whole ton is going down. We're back for our second annual, even though it's our third year, Christmas episode. We're going to talk about a deck that I built that I think people are going to get a kick out of, if nothing else. Maybe want to play it. Who knows? We're going to talk about some other stuff. We got a couple of Christmas gifts to give away. But before we do any of that, we got to thank our official sponsor, face-to-facegames.com. They're Canada's biggest Magic store.
Very much so. I just finished along with the help of a listener that we'll mention in a quick second, finished my Fallen Empires complete set.
Dang.
Yeah, through face-to-face. They had the only card that I couldn't find.
Which one?
Ebon Praetor. It's a rare. It was like the only card besides Hymn to Torok that people even know from Fallen Empires.
Come on, man, there was not Sapperling.
Thallid. Yep. There was actually some good cards in Fallen Empires, and I picked up a lot of them from face-to-facegames.com, where I have a new article up there.
Neat.
Ooh. Lord of Tressorhorn deck tech.
I saw that.
Yeah, people seem to like it. People seem to always ask the question when we go to events, do you have that deck? Or, hey, I heard about you guys talking about this deck. So I wrote a thing about it.
There it is.
Go check it out. I think we linked to it on the Facebook page.
Yes.
That's it. Speaking of the Facebook page, let them know where we can be found.
You can also find us at CCOPodcast and CCO Brando on Twitter and tappedout.net. That's where you can see this list and any other list that we're going to talk about over the course of the show. Like Ryan said, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, anywhere better podcasts are found. And if you're in a position to help the channel grow, you can totally come by patreon.com/CCOpodcast and support us there if you would like. And if you would like a better rundown of all those places, all with links and all that kind of fun stuff, you can check out our official home on the entire internet, CommanderCookout.com.
And somewhere on any of those platforms will be the, I'll say the official story of this year's Christmas episode.
Yeah, I went through and I wrote a little story, a fairy tale, if you will, to go along with today's deck. So some of the more questionable or strange includes that you're going to find, I needed them because I needed something to signify some element of the story in the deck. So you're going to find a few of those, but I think that they all work together in the end to make a deck that will be fun.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's got me thinking, like, over the holidays, we've traditionally done some fun things. You know, we play Open Flippy with a few boxes. We filled up a Rubbermaid huge tub one time with empty packs.
That's awesome.
We all got hammered. We bring snacks and chips and beer, whatever, right? Clayton will bring some, Clayton, by the way, we'll bring like some special Christmassy type drinks and stuff. This year, we had Christmas EDH&M.
Yes.
You went to some movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I went to Star Wars.
Yeah. I'm going to say it again. I haven't seen not one Star Wars. This one, by the sounds of it, doesn't make me think that I should see any of them.
If this was your first one, you probably wouldn't go back and watch them. I wasn't a big fan, but I'm not I could tell sitting there that I wasn't the core audience the movie was aimed at.
Knowing is the first step.
Yep, so I appreciated it for what it was, but it wasn't for me. That's fine.
Was it spectacular to watch? Like, were the visuals stunning? Oh.
Honestly, they were pretty meh. Nothing I haven't seen before.
Well, I've never seen it before. If I went and watched it, would I be stunned?
There were some cool set pieces. I think that you would probably be like, ooh. But then they reuse those set pieces a few times, and then you kind of do less ooh, and then by the end of it, it's like, okay, guys, let's...
You just showed that shot again?
Let's just get in there. You're Disney. You have more money than anything else ever on Earth. Just get to it, boys. Just get it done.
So... Speaking of Disney, could we adapt today's deck and story into a Disney movie?
Absolutely, we could.
All right, let's hear the title of it, and let's hear the commandy.
All right, the title of the story is Grumgully Saves Christmas.
And that would lead us to believe that the commander of the deck is...
Grumgully the Generous.
The Generous. I always forget that he's generous. He's giving away mushrooms. He's saying, here, kids, come have some of these mushrooms.
Last time a guy with blue skin and a red beard gave us mushrooms, we started a podcast.
Last time guys with blue skin and a red beard gave us mushrooms, his name was Ginger Joe. guy's so white, he's blue.
Oh, man.
Oh, hey, wait a second. Wait, no. Read Grumgully, then we'll talk about everything else.
Okay, Grumgully the Generous is a 3/3 Goblin Shaman for red, green, 1. Each other non-human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
So non-human tribal.
Yes. Ish.
Persist tribal.
Maybe.
We could, but we're not.
We might.
Yeah, I don't know.
We would never do that, Ryan.
I just thought of something, actually.
Good.
Speaking of Ginger Joe, we're moving on to the everything else category.
Absolutely
F
we are.
Grumgully for right now. Ginger Joe recently got invited to, I believe, he told me it was South Dakota.
Huh.
And this guy's from California, so it was a little bit of a trek.
He mentioned that he was going to South Dakota when we were chatting on Discord one day.
I imagine that he didn't walk, but he got there, and he brought along some Commander Cookout playmat and those scrubs over at CMDR Central.
Those people are such trash.
I know. Anyways, so he gave away these playmats to these kids at this gaming club that he got invited to by Sully the Nerd, at Sully the Nerd on Twitter. I'll link it in the show notes.
Cool.
So if you are interested in how this fine person is managing or advising a youth play group in his local area, and you want to start something similar, it'd probably be a good guy to talk to. And Joe gave away these playmats. So today's Christmas giveaway, we're giving Joe a new playmat.
Oh.
So we're gonna send it to him. He had a signed one, so I guess we can sign another one. Send it to him. And big props to Joe for doing things for the greater good out in the community.
Yeah, the man is a pillar of any community that he finds himself in. So I think he's a really good guy to have joined us and the nation. I think we're all lucky to have him around.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's a good guy.
And he is at Ginger Joe on Twitter, but the O in Joe is a 0. Again, because he's a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, of course, we'll link to him in the show notes as well. So, big shout out to Joe. He's the playmat winner.
I would play the air horn, but not today.
Yeah, I told him if he plays the air horn again, I'm going to lop off one of his toes.
I love the air horn. Be worth it.
So that's it. Last thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the deck proper or the story. This isn't officially part of the Arc of the Others, but do remember we do have a $25 gift credit certificate from face-to-facegames.com. You can get in on that by going to face-to-facegames.com and commenting on any of our content there, podcast articles, sharing anything on Twitter or Facebook, and tagging both Commander Cookout and Face-to-Face in it, letting them know that we are a solid pickup for them. And of course, we do have a Tulane deck giveaway, and those are about once per week promoted on the Twitter channels and the Facebook. So if you want to like, share, subscribe, tag a friend there, that'll get you entered in, or whatever the weekly ask is.
Yeah, post a mini review of the Grumgully Saves Christmas story.
Oh, I like that.
And we'll get you entered to win as well.
Okay, yeah. I'll make a post. I'll say, hey, what did you guys think of the Grumgully story?
And then hopefully people will read it and think it's fun.
Okay. All of that said, season's beatings time.
Yes, sir. Merry Fistmas, as it were.
Harry Squishmitt.
Don't Google that.
Don't Google that.
Do not
one.
Google that.
Maybe not Merry Fistmas either. I don't know. I feel like the fist and the internet just, I don't know.
Yeah, the internet's a dark place sometimes, but not here at CCO Podcast. We believe in the best in everybody, especially this time of year.
Especially Grumgully.
Yes.
All right, so let's hear it.
So do we want to hear the rundown of the story first, or do we want to just kind of go through it as we go through the deck?
How about this? How about in true CCO fashion, we start with the Creech, and I think on the page that we're looking at all the cards on, you've got them ordered in the order that Grumgully meets them in the story in. That's what you said on the pre-show.
That is what I did.
So we can go through the Creech and tell the story at the same time?
We can try. I think we can do it.
Okay.
We're very classy guys. So Grumgully. Grumgully is a goblin who grew up in a goblin warren that is just like any other goblin warren. They used to go out and they used to raid things and they used to get into a big fight, but the party god done descended upon the land. And he said, hey guys, this is just getting ridiculous. It's getting out of hand.
You should have put Xenagos in the deck.
I did.
Oh.
You're fighting too much, is what he said. And so all the goblins and all the dwarves and the people and everybody, they're having a good time. They're living their lives. Nobody's getting murdered in war, but they're bored. So Grumgully's like, I want to give back. I want to be like Ginger Joe. I want to make the world a better place by being generous with everybody around me. And it just so happened that his uncle dies, and he inherited the old munitions factory that the goblins used to make all their weapons. And he's like, I can totally turn this into like a toy factory, and I can make fun stuff. So he goes to the factory, and he takes his Auntie Wart with him. First creature.
Wart the Raid Mother.
Wart
3/3
the Raid
for
Mother.
6. When she enters the battlefield, she comes along with 2 green and red goblin creature tokens, and each green and instant and sorcery you have has Conspire, which means you can tap 2 creatures to copy it.
Right.
Okay,
We'll
so
get into some of those spells in a bit.
Grumgully brings Wart the Raid Mother to the munitions factory.
Yeah, and now Wart is old school. She's old school goblin. She thinks the goblins should only rage and pillage and do all sorts of bad stuff to people, right? That's her gimmick. So Grumgully brings her along because she has the keys, and they go in, and she's like, this is the worst idea. This is terrible. You don't even know how to work the factory. And Grumgully's like, well, damn it, she's right.
That's why, but that's why I brought you, right, or something?
No, you know what? She's right.
Okay.
She didn't want help. He didn't want help from Ward. She just got the keys. So he's like, well, first thing you need at a factory is factory employees. You need people to work the machines in the factory, and all the goblins used to work there. So he goes to the boss of his local warren, Kranko, and his wife, Pashelik Mons.
I think Pashelik Mons is a boy.
Don't gender her.
Not today. Okay. Kranko, 3/3 for 4. Tap them, you get X red goblins, where X is the number of goblins. So tap them, double your goblins. Pashelik, whenever Pashelik Mons or another goblin you control dies, Pashelik deals 1 damage to any target. You can pay 4, sack a goblin, create 2 goblins.
We're also playing Kranko Tin Street Kingpin for reasons.
For goblin reasons.
Yeah, he's also Kranko. He's also good. Does basically the same thing.
Yeah, when he attacks, he gets a +1, then he gives you a goblin for each +1 he has.
His power.
That's right. Yeah.
He's just good. So he goes and he talks to Kranko and Pashelik Mons, and he says, hey, like, I need somebody to work in my factory. I want to get it going. I want to make some toys. And they're like, well, we can't be raiding and killing anymore, so sure. Like, we'll all go, we'll all show up, we'll all help you out.
These are some progressive goblins.
Yeah, let's make this happen. Let's do this. I mean, boredom gets people doing all kinds of stuff that maybe they wouldn't normally do.
Oh, yeah. See? The internet.
Exactly. So they come along and they bring the goblins with them to work in the factory. So here are the goblins that we have working in the factory. We have a goblin matron.
She searches for a goblin, puts them into your hand.
We have a goblin instigator and a Mog war marshal.
Those are both 1/1s for 2 that bring another goblin into play when they enter the battlefield.
We have a goblin chieftain.
Other goblins get +1 and haste.
Goblin recruiter.
That would be just like Goblin Matron, except you could search for any number of goblins. That is your HR department.
Yes.
That's what that is.
That's what Ryan used to do.
Yeah, I had a whole team of people that worked for me and hired hundreds of people per week just so I could fire them all.
Then we got a goblin ringleader.
That looks at the top 4 of your library. All goblins go into your hand, right?
That's correct.
And, of course, haste.
Yes, because he's a goblin.
Yes.
We have a goblin war chief.
Other goblins cost 1 less, and other goblins have haste. Oh, all goblins.
Yes. We have a skirk prospector.
Sack a goblin, get red mana, and that's just red.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's actually good with Pashelik Mons because you can sacrifice. You said on the pre-show you had lots of ways to go infinite.
I do.
I'm willing to bet that goblin. What's the one we just talked about with haste? Goblin War Chief, Skirk Prospector, and Pashelik Mons. Probably. Ooh, and there's also a Siege Gang Commander.
There's also a Siege Gang Commander.
He's probably like the factory floor boss. That's like, he's making sure people are working faster and not bullshitting at the water cooler.
Make sure the toys are getting invented and built.
Yes, so he's a 2/2 for 5. When he enters a battlefield, you get 3 1/1s. So it's 5 power for 5. You can also pay 2, sacrifice a goblin. Siege Gang deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So it's kind of like Pashelik Mons, except better. That's how you do it.
These are very good.
Guaranteed.
Now we have to keep in mind also, especially when we talk about Siege Gang Commander, he's 5 power worth of dudes across 4 bodies for 5 mana.
Oh, that seems good.
That's pretty good. With Grumgully the Generous.
They're all way bigger because they all enter the battlefield and get a +1 counter.
It's 9 power of guys across 4 bodies for 5 mana. So we're already way above the curve. That's awesome.
Sweet. And how much does Grumgully cost to cast?
3.
3?
3.
So you could go Grumgully, Pashulik, Siege Gang?
All on curve.
All on curve, baby.
Oh.
This is why goblins are good, but also it's why goblins kind of fizzle out at the top end. If we get a little bit EDH techie there, the next character in our story might actually help us solve that.
Might help you get there. So all the goblins come and they all show up for work and they're all really excited to get going.
Little goblin hard hats and stuff.
But what we forget is that goblins aren't the most, shall we say, innovative when it comes to building things that are fun or soft.
Or not sharp.
So we see them, they make like a club.
Okay.
Or a sharp stick. Or a club with a sharp stick hammered into it.
Yep.
Right? So, and those aren't necessarily things that you want to be giving kids at Christmas time.
That's some Nightmare Before Christmas shit right there.
Yeah, so Grumgully's like, I don't know. So he goes to Krenko and Pashulik and he says, hey, I think we need something like, what are we going to do here?
Your HR department sounds like Ryan's HR department, man. He's hiring people that just want to hit stuff with clubs. That's real life, people. Quick aside, this is my Christmas story. I actually had at a job that I was at one time, 2 dudes, one of which was drunk because, construction workers.
Yeah.
It's a stereotype, but it's like stereotypes exist for a reason. One guy shoulder bumped a guy down off the steps up to the lunchroom, and he fell down the stairs.
Oh no.
And he picked up a big 2x6, like a big board, and swung it at the other guy and cranked him, and they started a big fight. So it literally was like goblins, or like on the orcs, like on Lord of the Rings when Sam and Frodo push them and they all get into a fight or whatever, and they all, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that crowd mentality, especially when you mix in some alcohol. Make sure to be safe out there at Christmas time, everybody.
Very true.
Anyways.
Yikes. So, Grumgully goes to Krenko and Pashulik and says, hey, I need more fun toys. And Krenko and Pashulik are like, well, goblins don't make fun toys. They just make goblin toys.
Yeah.
If you want fun toys, you got to go talk to maybe the dwarves. And because they're really good at building stuff and inventing stuff, and they can probably come up with some fun stuff.
Yeah, kind of like Santa's dwarves. I know that they're elves, but the elves and dwarves, they kind of scissor each other sometimes.
They fulfill the same purpose in the stories.
Sure.
So Grumgully heads out from the Warren, and he heads to the dwarf mine town area.
Sure.
And he sees a wondrous world of flying machines and all sorts of really cool stuff that dwarves have built.
Yeah, kind of like a Kaladesh, except maybe underground.
Yes.
Okay.
And because it is a story that is meant to have some conflict but not too much, he just gets an audience with Torbrand. No fetch quests, no bullshit. He's like, hey, can I talk to the king? Totally can, weird goblin dude.
Totally can. He just gave him some mushrooms. That's what happened. I'll say Torbrand is a 2/4 for red 1. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2.
So good.
So our siege gang, instead of doing 2 now, is doing 4.
Yes.
Not terrible.
And the 9 power worth of dudes, if they're all attacking, does
1,000.
Yeah, it's 17, I think.
Yeah.
Just that would. Torbrand is great. So Grumgully talks to Torbrand and he tells him what he's up to. He wants to do something for people and kids and families around the world that is going to just make them happy, but his goblins just really suck at making toys. So he needs help. So Torbrand's like, you know what? Yeah, we built all kinds of stuff here, so I'm going to send 7 of my best artisans back with you, and they'll work in the factory, and they'll build all the stuff. They'll upkeep all your equipment. It's going to be great.
Sort of like a team of advisors.
Exactly like a team of advisors.
Yeah, okay, so we've got 7 dwarf advisors.
Yes.
I wish they were advisors because I would totally play them in Persistent Petitioners. 7 dwarves is a 2/2 for red 1. You can play up to 7 of them in your deck.
And we are.
Which is cool. And it gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 dwarves that you control. Just as an aside, we were talking about this before the show. I think that this might go in red-blue or Teamer Legacy deck, where this, instead of something like Delver, hear me out, I know it costs 2, I know it doesn't fly, but as soon as you have 2 of them, it's tussles with Delver. As soon as you have 3 of them, it's on point with the Tarmogoyfs, the Gurmag Anglers, the Hooting Mandrills of the format. And if you pair it with the Brainstorms, Ponders, Preordains to find 2 or 3, or heaven forbid you find 4 of these, this is a real card. Like 2 2s for 3, 2 2s for 4, or sorry, 2 2s for 2, 3 3s for 2, 4 4s for 2, heaven forbid 5 5s for 2. This could be a real card.
It's I like it.
Listen, if Tarmogoyf is a real card and you can have 2 Tarmogoyfs on the battlefield at one time in Legacy, if anybody's playing 4 alongside your Brainstorms, Ponders, Preordains, this is worth a look. Just throwing it out there.
And you're 7 of them, so the odds of you hitting one is pretty good.
That's the other thing. You can play 7 of them.
It's cool.
Sure.
So all the dwarves and Grumgully go back to the factory, and they found that the goblins have upped their game. You know, they've taken the sharp stick and they've like taped it to another sharp stick to make like a throwing star.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they didn't want to lose their job, so they started taking it more seriously.
Oh, no. They've just made...
They don't give a shit about that.
They've just made more bad decisions. And Grumgully is really happy that Torbran and the dwarves have come.
More dangerous toys.
Yes.
Okay.
So the dwarves all get to work, and after a couple of weeks, everything's going good, and they've got like action figures and train sets and all this stuff. But Grumgully's like, you know what? I think people are going to want more. Because people always want more, but, you know, we can give it to them. It's not that hard.
Yeah, capitalism is a hell of a drug.
We can make toys that play with themselves, that move around. I could create video games. And Grumgully has no idea what a video game is, but he thinks it would be sweet as hell.
He's not wrong.
He's like, well, how am I going to do that? And, of course, Auntie Wart's like, this is the worst idea. This is terrible. I can't believe this is even going on right now. God. So Grumgully goes to Torbran and Krenko and Pashalik Mons, and he says, hey, like, I want these toys to be like the best toys.
He's got to answer to like his labor provider now, Torbrand. He's like the union. You thought that it was going to be Krenko. He's the union boss. No, but it's actually Torbrand he's got to be accountable to. It's like Wizards being accountable to Hasbro. Fucking Torbrand. I hate him.
There's a corporate structure all through the whole thing. So they look at him and they say, well, that sounds like magic. And if you're going to start making magical toys, we're going to need these machines to be super magical. And if we're going to do that, you got to go see the great king and queen of the elements so that you can get the magic in here so we can infuse them into the toys. We can totally do it, but we're going to need some forms filled out, some T's crossed and I's dotted.
Some permits and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So Krenko, after having walked to the Dwarven village, was like, oh, man, this is going to be a long walk. So Torbrand's like, nah, bro. Helicopter. So now Grumgully has a helicopter, and that's just effing sweet.
I don't know why that fits, but
it's
sure.
very important because walking around in fantasy worlds take a long time, and there's lots of dragons to fight and bramble crushes to deal with and stuff. No. Grumgully has a fucking helicopter, so he just flies over to where the Element King lives. And the Elemental King, of course, as we all know, this is a deck that I built.
100%. Everybody knows who this is going to be.
It's Omnath, Locus of Rage.
A 5/5 elemental, green, red 3. Landfall, you get a 5/5 elemental. When an elemental dies, it deals 3 damage to creature or player.
Now with Grumgully, he's a 6/6.
And with
so are his tokens.
Yes. And with Torbrand, he deals 5 damage.
Yes.
Continue.
Ooh. And he's hanging out there with his partner, Azusa Lost But Seeking.
1/2, human monk for 3. You can play 2 extra lands. Sure.
So these are the people that control like the flow of magic in the world that we are inhabiting right now.
They are like the CEOs of Duracell.
Sure. Like we've talked about, I think that it actually on Zendikar, Omnath kind of does that, doesn't he? Like he's like
I have no idea.
He's like I don't know what the word is.
Fucking Omnath is like Elon Musk from
like SpaceX
and Tesla. Yeah. Elon Musk, that's who he is.
So these two are kind of in charge of getting the magical conduits and stuff like installed around the world. And Grumgully tells them what he's up to. And Omnath is less impressed with Christmas and doing all this fun stuff as he is with trying to turn his body into abs so that he can impress Azusa.
He needs some of them 6-minute abs that Josh Lee Kwai was talking about a couple weeks ago.
We need some more +1/+1 counters so we can look more jacked.
Oh, I like that too.
Right? So Azusa, like, I think this is a good idea. So she talks to Omnath, and I'm just like, fine, we'll do it. So they all hop on the helicopter, and they fly to the factory, and they land down there, and they're like, okay, I'm going to put a ley line of magical power underneath this factory so that you can make all your toys and they can all be magical and they can all be great. So they have the King of the Dwarves, 2 legendary hero goblin warriors, little Grumgully giving away mushrooms to everybody.
Yeah, keeping everybody happy.
And the 2 people actually in charge of the force that gives life to the world. And Auntie Wart's like, this is the worst idea. I can't believe you're still trying this. This sucks. So Omnath kills her and turns her into a bag of holding so that we can put the toys in it.
Ooh.
So that Grumgully can fly them out to all the kids.
Okay.
Because we've had enough of her shit.
Are we playing bag of holding?
No.
Oh.
No, I have things that are good in this deck, Ryan.
Oh,
I have
was going to say, feels like a missed opportunity there.
I have lots of toys that the dwarves have built. That is not one of them.
Sure.
We could make a case for adding it, though. So, we have a factory full of magical toys. Everybody's happy. Everybody's being paid very well. Grumgully has a sack that can carry things in, a rocket-powered helicopter he can get around the world to deliver children's toys and joy and make a happy holiday come wintertime. The end.
What about the rest of the deck?
Well, there's the rest of the deck, but they're all things that happen and we can kind of... There's some utility stuff, and then as we get to the rest of the sections in the deck, we can talk about the other cards.
I've got a couple... Your story has some plot holes.
No.
And we'll fill them in as we go.
There we go. Okay, so we'll bang out... There's 6 more creatures in the list. They're all there for utility. First one's Avenger of Zendikar.
Avenger Zendikar is a 5/5 for 7. Enters the battlefield. You get 0/1 green plants equal to the number of land you have on the battlefield. Landfall, all your plants get +1/+1.
Ooh.
Seems good. Seems like he's probably Omnath's like second in command at the old Tesla factory.
Probably. Yeah, he comes along with his own like legion of workers to make sure
yeah, he's on the board of directors and shit, right?
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
We've got a Champion of Lambholt.
Champion of Lambholt. This is a recent Brando include in probably a couple decks.
Yeah, I just recently learned about this card, so dang.
1/1 for green 1. Creatures with power less than Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures you control. Okay. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Champion gets +1/+1.
Ooh.
So Grumgully makes it a 2/2. Avenger of Zendikar makes it like an 8/8 or a 9/9. And then you just swing and all your guys are unblockable.
Yeah, Krenko makes her huge. Omnath could make her real big.
Pashelik makes her huge. Siege Gang makes her huge. She is maybe security at the front of the factory to make sure that people aren't allowed in or people aren't swiping out early.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
that's important.
Then we have the Champion of Lambholt's twin sister, the Eternal Witness.
Yeah, Tyrese Nielsen special.
Love that guy.
Yeah, those Browns, hey? They're making a playoff run. They got to win out, though.
Good luck.
2/1 for 3. Enters the battlefield. Return a creature from your graveyard to your... Or to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. This would be the person at the factory that everybody hates that's doing like the lean initiative where they're trying to use less paper, less electricity, go digital for as much as they can, no filing cabinets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, try to make sure that the stapler is the most accessible for all the people on the floor. So it's got to be inside this circle of tape that they put on top of the filing cabinet.
Yeah, and the stapler's on a chain so people don't steal it.
Yay.
It's real.
We got an Evolution Sage.
Landfall, proliferate.
Whoa.
I think this is payroll.
Definitely.
Yeah, because the proliferate thing. I think the next one is also on the payroll team because there is usually not enough of those administrative positions, so we're giving them a bone here.
It's the incubation druid.
So this is a 0/2 for 2. Tap to add a mana of any type to your mana pool that a land you control would produce.
Yep.
And if it's got a +1 on it, you add 3 mana.
So it comes into play with Grumgully, it just gets a counter, and then Evolution Sage can just proliferate that and all your creatures up to the moon.
Yeah, if you don't have any of those, you can adapt 3 it for 5, so it gets 3 +1/+1 counters on it for 5 extra mana, but we probably don't need to do that.
Probably not. We also have a Woodfall Primus.
I think this is in here just to flex, because this goes infinite with Grumgully.
Yes, it does.
This is Persist, and Persist is when it dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, you bring it back from your graveyard. 6/6 Trampler. When it enters the battlefield, destroy non-creature permanent.
Whoa.
So when it dies the first time, it'll immediately come back with a -1 counter on it due to Persist, but Grumgully will then put a +1 counter on it. So those cancel out. It'll have 0 counters on it as a result. If it dies again, it'll come back because persist doesn't see a -1 counter on it.
Correct.
So this is just infinite in and out of the battlefield if you have like a sack outlet, and it will destroy all the non-creature permanents.
It's pretty good. He's that guy that you hire when somebody opens up a factory across the street and you want them to go out of business.
Yeah, this is who Cranko actually hires.
That's our creature suite. Sweet, I think.
Festive suite.
Ooh, I like that.
Got there.
All right, we got some instants.
You got to have a Christmas sound for that.
Okay.
You can insert your festiveness to whichever hole is open. Don't Google that.
Don't Google that at all. We got 4 instants. They're all pretty standard. We have a Beast Within.
That kills something, you get a 3/3 beast, or they get a 3/3 beast.
You take away their thing, but you leave them a gift.
Or you kill your own thing and you get a 4/4.
That too.
Sure.
Who knew? We have a K-Grip.
Krosan Grip just lets you kill artifact or enchantment, full stop.
Noxious Revival.
Noxious Revival is Phyrexian green, instant, card from your graveyard on top its owner's library. This is another part of that lean initiative.
It's an instant.
Yeah, what the fuck? And it's free. God, that card.
And we got a Worldly Tutor.
Searches for a creature, puts it onto your library. Top.
Let's talk some sorceries.
Sorceries.
Now, we talked about Christmas. Christmas is the theme of the deck. We actually have 2 cards that represent Christmas morning. One of them actually, and one of them in a more Brando way.
Okay.
The first one is Planewide Celebration.
Oh, yeah, this is good. This is Grumgully going out on Christmas Eve and delivering all the presents. He comes back to the factory, puts his feet up, has a Crown Royal, and all the kids can open their presents on Christmas morning.
That's right.
So, green, 5, choose 4, but you can choose the same one more than once. So here are your 4 options. Create a 2/2 citizen. It's all colors. Who cares?
Yeah.
Return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Proliferate.
Ooh.
Okay. Gain 4 life.
Nah.
Yeah, who cares? I wish that card saw more play.
That's a fun I like that card lots. That's a really cool one. You know why it's there. It makes dudes. It does everything you want to do.
Yeah, it makes... You could make 4 2/2s that are actually 4 3/3s. You could proliferate like your entire team that already has counters on them from Grumgully. That's a good include.
It's a good one. Yeah. And then we have the more Brando Christmas Day, because every time you cast this card, it feels like Christmas morning. Genesis Wave.
You mean Generous Wave.
Ooh.
Got there.
Got there.
Green, X. Reveal the top X of your library. You get all permanents that have a mana cost of X or less.
Yep.
Includes lands.
Super good.
Yeah, so X equals, I think the last time you cast it, X equals 7, and you got like 5 things.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's fine.
It was not too bad.
Yeah.
All right, we have a Hiring Blitz in Hordling Outburst.
Yeah, I like that. They put out an ad on Indeed or something, right? Workopolis?
Yep.
Sure. Red, 1. Sorcery, get 3 1/1 goblins. So it's 1 mana per 1 goblin. That is the best rate that you can get.
And if you have Grumgully, they're going to be 2/2s.
Not terrible.
That's pretty good. All right, again, we're playing a red deck, we're playing a green deck, we're playing a Gruul deck that Brando built. Of course, we're playing Decimate.
Decimate. This is undo justice to the bullies or people who deserve coal. This is green, red, 2, destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land.
Yeah.
Get them all.
Now, here's my gift to all of you. A card that I don't think sees enough play for how frickin' cool it is. Mog Infestation.
Look at that novel of text, too. You're going to make me do that? Okay, this is a sorcery for red, 3. Destroy all creature target player controls. For each creature put into any graveyard this way, put 2 goblin tokens into play. Under that player's control, they're 1/1s.
Yes.
So that is double all of your creatures if you kill all your creatures?
It is that as well. It's also... Elish Norn is hard to beat. So let's just turn her into 2 goblins.
Yep.
That's wow, your army is big and it flies. Now it doesn't.
Now it doesn't, and it's just little shitty goblins.
Yep.
I like both ways that we've played that. I have toyed with that idea along with Descent of the Dragons, which is the same card except for 6. Destroy all creatures target player controls. They get 4/4 dragons. In Zada, actually, because like you could have an army of tokens, and if they all have haste, or if the dragons you make all have haste for 6 mana, you just kill somebody. Or this doubles all your goblins. That's a cool card.
It's a really cool card.
Yeah.
Don't see it very much. We have Nostalgic Dreams.
Green, additional cost, discard X cards, return X cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Nostalgic Dreams is all Christmas all the time. Because everybody's all nostalgic at Christmas time, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing. You know, you smell the smells and you see the tree and you see the specials on TV.
And the families and the bakings and the drinks. Yeah.
It's the whole thing. We also have a Rishgar's expertise.
This is another Christmassy card. This actually looks like a Christmas tree. Maybe one that got thrown out or fell out of the back of somebody's truck on the way to the dump. It's got no needles left on it, but it is a Christmas tree nonetheless. Green, 4. Draw cards equal to your biggest creature. Play a 5-drop for free.
Open some presents and then play with one immediately.
A big one.
Yes.
Yes.
And last sorcery, we have a Sky Shroud Claim.
This is like your present to you. You can go and get your taiga and your stomping ground, or just your forest and your forest.
Yeah.
Okay, untapped, of course.
You're going out to find the tree, bringing it home.
Oh, yeah, I like that. You can find 2 trees. You can be like Rebecca and make me decorate 2 trees, one upstairs, one downstairs. That's your Sky Shroud claim. Both are untapped, so my kid can knock them over, or if you have a cat, your cat can climb them and also knock them over.
All right, we're going to start with some enchantments. We're going to start with the 2 that everybody knows I'm playing, because of course I am. I'm playing Doubling Season because there's tokens, both creature and +1/+1 in the deck. Obviously, I'm going to play that. And because I'm always playing this in every deck I play a Goblin Bombardment.
Yeah, sacrifice creature, deal 1 damage. Of course, you're also playing Beastmaster Ascension because you can drop it for 3, attack with 7 creature.
Yep.
And all your guys get +5/+5.
You can also proliferate those counters up if you don't have 7 dudes to attack with right away. Those are just good includes for winning actual games of Magic, because this is, at the end of the day, a Magic deck.
Yeah.
And you got to win games.
You know what? This is the kind of thing that you might build and tell your friends the story and like lend it out for the night, for the Christmas night, you know what I mean? And somebody else will build their deck and lend it to you, and you guys all have this festive holiday story-driven game.
Ooh, that would be fun.
That would actually be fun.
That would be really cool.
Again, we talked about it on the pre-show a little bit, where this deck and story kind of reminds me of the Horde Quest stories you wrote, and we went out and fought hordes with our commanders as our player characters.
Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me of that. And we don't do this very often, so when we do, I think it feels special.
Cool. Next one up, we have Looking for That Christmas Tree in Exploration.
Yeah, gotta explore, which means you play an additional land.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's an enchantment for 1 green. We have Grumgully's Hometown in the Goblin Warrens.
Yeah, actually, Ginger Joe sent me one of these. It was one of the last cards I needed for Fallen Empire set. Enchantment for red 2. You can pay red 2, sack 2 goblins, and then you put 3 goblins into play?
Yeah.
Wow. 3 mana for 3 goblins, but you got to sack 2, so you always net 1.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, isn't it?
It's pretty good.
After you do it, you have to do it a few times, though. Like, it costs 6 before you have goblins.
It's not the most efficient way of doing things, but I like this card lots as a utility card. If somebody's attacking you or blocking with things with lifelink, you can swing into them and then use your Goblin Warrens to sack the things that are going to give your opponent life and put some blockers back up for when they swing back at you.
I like blocking and then sacrificing so you don't take damage, and then you get 3 additional blockers for the next player.
It's a pretty cool card.
And how about that art, though?
Yeah.
Pull over, stop driving, stop whatever you're doing. Goblin Warrens, look it up.
There's like a lady, and there's a goblin eating another goblin. There's a bunch of little goblin kids running around. They're hanging from the rafters.
There is a lot going on in that art. I'll tell you that much.
Next up, we have a Growing Rights of Itlimok.
That finds us a creature and, of course, flips over to budget, poor man, or every man, Gaia's Cradle.
Yes. Obviously, that's why we all know why that's in here.
Yeah.
We have a Rights of Flourishing.
Each player draws an extra card, plays an extra land. So this lets everybody get an extra Christmas present per turn, and everybody can go out and get a Christmas and or Festivus tree, whichever kind they prefer.
Dig that.
Yeah.
We have a Zendikar's Royal.
Zendikar's Royal, 5 mana. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get a 2/2 green elemental. So that's like Omnath's entourage, I guess.
Yeah. It's like what he's moving into the factory to like.
Yeah, maybe those are his stockholders. You know, they just got a little bit of a bump in their dividend at the end of the year because he got the Grumgully contract or whatever.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I just really wanted to play this card. I don't even know if it works in the deck, but I'm playing Wild Pear.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta strategically decide what mana dorks or utility creatures you play when you play Wild Pear, because it's a 6-drop enchantment. When a creature enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, you may search your library for a creature with the same total power, and toughness. So if you play a 2/2, you get a 2/2 or a 1/3 because their total power and toughness added together is the same. A 0/4, for example. You can play a Vine Trellis from Mercadian Masks when you play your first 7 dwarves.
Or you could get another 7 dwarves with your 7 dwarf.
No, because they get +1.
Well, you get the first one.
You get the first one and the second one. That's right.
You're automatically above curve because they're 3/3s.
That's excellent. Yeah,
There
then when you get your 3/3, then you can search for your Kranko.
Yeah.
Or your Siege Gang.
Or when you play your hasty Lord Goblin, you can get a Siege Gang commander.
Yeah. Okay, this deck, that card works.
Yeah, Wild Pair is a cool card. I don't think it gets played lots. Lots of people know about it, but it doesn't get the love that it deserves all the time.
Yeah. Do some clumping, and let's save that sack outlet there for last.
All right, we're going to do Sol Ring, Gilded Lotus, Ruby Medallion, Emerald Medallion, and the Great Henge. Those are our mana rocks.
Yeah, and of course the Great Henge also.
It does everything.
Yeah.
So, but everybody knows what that does at this point. We have Grumgully's super awesome helicopter.
Oh, there it is.
In Smuggler's Copter.
There it is. Yep, Grumgully, and he can crew that too.
Sure can.
So he crews it by tapping, crew 1, and it is a 3/3 flyer creature equipment vehicle, whatever the fuck it is. When it attacks or blocks, draw a card, then discard a card.
Neat.
Yeah, banned in like every format that it was ever legal in.
Yeah, except Commandy.
Except Commandy,
We
because
ain't chicken.
Grumgully needs a helicopter.
We ain't chicken. We've got a Birthing Bows.
Yeah, Modern Horizons Special. I knew that this was going to see play in a Brando deck eventually. This is a 3-drop artifact. You pay 4. You create a 2/2 colorless shapeshifter with all creature types.
So you get more factory workers. They're goblins, they're dwarves, they're elementals. They're all working together.
Yeah, so they trigger most things. They would trigger your Pashulik. They would trigger off your Kranko, your Omnath. That's cool. That's good include.
Now here's the dirt sandwich card
Ooh.
of the world, of the earth. Let's say you're gonna Goblin Warrens, or not Goblin Warrens, you're gonna Mog Infestation yourself to double your team.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be cool if your team didn't die?
Yes.
Because if you have a Cauldron of Souls, they don't.
Ooh, it's a 5-drop artifact. Tap it, choose any number of target creatures. Any number of target creatures. Full stop.
Yep.
Yep. Each of those creatures gains persist. And you'll remember that if it dies with no plus or -1s on it, it comes back with a -1. Grumgully will see it, remove that -1 with his +1, and you can sack them again.
And they have persist until end of turn, so you can, at that point, infinitely sack something to get whatever
Does it
benefit
come
you want.
back and continue to have persist?
It should.
It goes to the graveyard with persist, so the persist will trigger, but it comes back and it's a new object.
Oh, is it?
I'm reasonably sure. Add us on Twitter if we are correct or incorrect. At CCOPodcast, at CCOBrando, Cauldron of Souls. Regardless, probably if I'm going to Cauldron of Souls my entire team with, what is it, Mog Infestation?
Yeah.
And those creatures include elementals with Omnath, Pashulik Mons, and Goblins. I'm probably going to win that game.
Yeah, you probably don't really... That was the sound of Ryan's chair breaking, everyone.
Yeah, we break chairs like every week. Great include. I think it's actually getting expensive, and foils are ridiculous because they're from Shadowmoor.
It's outrageous. It's a cool-ass card, though.
Yeah.
Highly recommend you pick them up.
Hard to reprint. I want to see it in Commander Legends in 2020. Wizards, make it happen.
I think it could be there.
I think so.
All right, we got a Contagion Clasp.
And a Contagion Engine. Enter the battlefield, you get a -1 on something, or in Contagion Engine's case, on everything. You can pay 4 to proliferate, or in Engine's case, proliferate.
Make your team big. Make your opponent's team small.
Yes. Or just put -1s on all of your stuff with +1s, and they might persist. I don't know.
You can do all kinds of stuff with it.
I just made that up.
All right, we got a Mimic Vat.
Mimic Vat, when something dies, exile it, put it on in the vat, essentially. You can pay 3 to put a token with haste into play, exile it, and a turn.
In my brain, that's going to be super fun with a 7 dwarves and a doubling season.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, that's actually good.
That's really cool.
You know what? I like the Mimic Vat, the Contagion Engine, and the Clasp. Those feel very much like different factory machines. You're not including like Blasting Station, Grinding Station. You're not including any of those.
No.
Which you could go infinite in more ways than you already can with Persist and Grumgully. But these are good analogs.
And the last artifact, well, I guess it's not the last one. There's two more. We have a Skull Clamp.
Yep, that draws you cards.
Because, of course, a Skull Clamp. And we have an Ashnod's Altar.
Because sacrificing your stuff to get mana, to play more stuff, probably just makes you go infinite. You sacrifice a Goblin to your Skirk Prospector for red. You sacrifice another Goblin to the Ashnod's Altar. So you have red, colorless, which will give you additional goblins with Pashalik Mons, or to let you fling stuff with your Siege Gang Commander. And I'm sure there's ways to get...
It goes infinite with Goblin Warrens, I think.
Ooh, does it?
I think
Because
so.
you get 3 and you have to sacrifice 2.
Oh, and then you have 1 left. Dang. Almost got there.
Almost got that. But if you have doubling season...
Yeah, if you have doubling
there you go.
If you have doubling
there you
season,
go. And
the
then
game's already over.
Pashalik Mons will just deal damage every time one of them dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
All right.
Sick.
Got there. So this is like that's real strategy right there.
It's a real card. And the last card, we talked about the party god that came down and settled everybody's shit down so that everybody's having a good time, so that we want to do Christmas instead of making war. So we're playing Xenagos the Reveler.
That's right. He's a planeswalker, P-dubs, 4 mana, 3 loyalty, +1. You get a mana, a green or red mana equal to the number of creatures you control. You 0 them to put a green and red Satyr creature token onto the battlefield. You could get 2 with doubling season, of course, and you can -6 to exile the top 7 cards of your library, and you can get any number of creatures from among them onto the battlefield.
Creatures or lands.
Ooh, that's fine.
So if we could find a way of making the 7 dwarves into goblins, then we could use the Goblin Recruiter to put them all on top, and then we could use Xenagos to put them all into play at the same time. Ooh.
And then we'd need to play Warstorm Surge.
Yes.
And that's how we would win.
And that's how we would do it.
I'm sure there's some red or green card that makes all our creatures into the creature type that we want.
There probably is one. That's the deck. Lands of note, there's a Karn's Bastion for more proliferating. There's a Raging Ravine that you can proliferate stuff. I'm playing all of the general red and green cards. I'm playing snow-covered forests and mountains.
I was just going to say, are you playing the snow covers because it's like the North Pole?
Yep.
And you got there.
Because it's Christmas time. I'm also playing a Highland Weld or Velt because it's a snow land as well.
Yep.
Snow dual land. And that's basically it. It's a pretty standard mana base for a green-red deck. It's the same green-red mana base I play in every Gruul deck I ever built.
That's it. And you've got an Ancient Tomb in there, of course, because it is like one of the best lands in the format. If you count that, mana rocks and land that produce more than 1 mana by tapping it, you've got 7, which I think is a fine amount with a converted mana cost of 3.37.
Hell yeah.
I think that's fine. You've got a bunch of repeatable ways to accrue card advantage. That is things like Decimate, or the few things that double spells or let you reuse stuff like the Grumgully and what is it, Woodfall Primus interaction.
Yeah.
So you've got some.
Also keep in mind we're playing
Wart the Raid Mother is essentially a card draw spell because it's going to double all your spells as soon as you have like 2 things to tap when you cast an instant or sorcery.
You know what's better than playing Genesis Wave for 7? Playing Genesis Wave for 7 twice.
Yes.
Or Decimate twice. Or Sky Shroud Claim twice.
Does that work, Genesis Wave twice?
Well, it copies the spell on the stack, doesn't it?
You reveal the top 7 and you resolve that one, and then the ones that you don't hit on go to the bottom?
They go to the graveyard.
They go to the graveyard. Then you do it again. Oh, yeah, so it would work.
Yeah.
I thought you just reveal the top 7 twice. I was like, oh, that does the same thing, dude.
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay, sweet. Do you want to move on to your favorite section for your own Christmas adventure?
Do you mean card of the week?
I know who I want. We've mentioned it a couple times. I've never seen it out in the wild, and I think that it could be a legit card outside of Commandy.
Go ahead, Ron. Let's do it.
I think 7 Dwarves. What do you think?
Let's do it. I like 7 Dwarves. 7 Dwarves is a 2/2 for red 1. 7 Dwarves gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 Dwarves you control, and a deck can have up to 7 of them in it.
There it is. You know what else I like this in? Is it clone.7dwarves.deck?
Oh, that'd be
There it
so
is.
cool.
There it is, because once you get 3 or 4 7 dwarves, your 4 and 5 mana clones that just become 7 dwarves are like 6/6s and 7/7s. So even a 7 dwarves for 4 mana in clone is going to be above curve.
Wow.
Very vanilla, but things like a Chroma's Memorial and Eldrazi Monument and Vanquisher's Banner and shit, like you could do 7 dwarves tribal. It was a very good bone for the dwarf tribal wanters.
Oh, I like that.
And you could add, instead of white and doing vehicles with Gopala or whatever, you could do Izzet clone dwarf deck.
Oh, I dig that.
So if you've got that, of course, hit us up on either the Discord preferred lists channel or the Commander Cookout at gmail.com email address.
Yes.
Shoot us your list if you have that.
And if you heard that and want to build it kind of like I do, if you go to your local game store, you're going to pay about 22 cents per 7 dwarves.
Ooh.
If you want to pimp them all the way out, it's only 80 cents.
Nice. Foils, 80 cents. Way better than them Shadowborn Apostles, I'll tell you that much.
Yes, or your Relentless Rats.
Yep.
Or what's the other one?
The
Persistent Petitioners.
A rat colony as well.
Yeah, balls them. They suck.
Yep.
Why would anybody play that over Relentless Rats?
Because you can skull clamp them.
Yeah, I
Trust
guess.
me, it's better.
Yeah, it's fine. Has its moments, I guess.
Yeah. And they cost black 1 instead of black 1.
Yeah.
Both have their place depending on what kind of build you want. Much like the Boros vehicle dwarf or the Izzet clone dwarf, like I mentioned.
I think Izzet Clone Dwarf is just the shit.
Yeah, get at us. We're serious. Send us a list. Somebody do it.
Somebody do it before we have to, because we're going to do it otherwise.
So that's the deck. That's the card of the week. You had 4 tutors in the deck. I'd like to give you a spice rating. It's going to be low, but honorary spice, because there's an entire story that goes along with the deck. I dig it. I would like to do more of this kind of thing in 2020. So if you're into it, at CCOPodcast, at CCOBrando on Twitter, hit us up with a YouTube comment or a comment on any of our face-to-face stuff, because that is going to get you entered in, of course, to the $25 giveaway.
The odds of you winning is very high.
Oh yeah, 100% the odds are high. If you would like to get in on the Tulane Brawl deck giveaway, we've got new ones restocked all over the country now. Also, F Tulane. Just watch for the giveaway posts, and you can just share the show, like, subscribe, tell a friend, tag a friend, whatever it is that we're asking.
Or a mini review of the story that'll go along with this deck, which should be posted on Facebook or probably the website when you hear this episode.
Yeah, at the very least, links to wherever it's posted will be on all of our social media, so we can get that out there, and if anybody wants to build it, they can tell their friends the story like we did, or of course just recommend them to listen to the episode.
Yeah, and then you can just savagely wreck them with the deck.
Oh yeah, just stomp their dink right into the dirt.
Because I assume that this deck would definitely do some dink stomping.
Give them a season's beatings.
Hell yeah.
A Merry Harry Squish Mitt Fist Miss.
Yes, with a puby playmat wrapped around a lead pipe.
Shout out to F.U. Max Crandell. So that's it. That is everything. Give us our final thought of the day. This is actually the second last episode of 2019, because we've got our year in review preview coming out next week. What do you think about the year, the Christmas season, the Grumgully adventure? Give it to us all in 40 seconds or less.
It's a high order, man. Christmas time is always great. I like to do stuff like this that's just to be fun and to hopefully bring a smile to people's faces and make people laugh. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you build the deck, you check it out, you get a really a good kick out of it. And if you read the story, please let me know what you think. If you want me to keep doing that kind of stuff, or if I should just not, just let me know either way. I appreciate the feedback. As far as everything else goes, I think that we've said everything that we need to say about the deck, and maybe even about the year. I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe holiday from everybody here in CCO Nation, from Ryan and myself. Thank you very much for being here. We wouldn't be here without you, and we really do appreciate that. I think that I speak for both of us when I say that that's probably the biggest gift you could ever give us, is the opportunity to be here to entertain you.
Very much so.
That being said, we're going to kick it off. We're going to leave. We're going to go have some eggnog and some beer downstairs.
I may or may not have a warm breakfast beer already.
There we go. And they're going to be back again for our year-end review preview on the next episode of Commander Cookout Podcast. Hit our theme song!
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas, fuckers! Ho, 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 ho.